Ah, life! You really got to love it. Day after day, new challenges comes right at your face and you gotta deal with that. But I like it. You know what they say? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. Or, as I have to do these days, when Unfrozen gives you an early build, you make a video. Of Arena Mode. Heroes of Might and Magic Golden Era. Upcoming game? Nice! If I had to just mention one game that I am excited about, I would have to choose Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era. If you're curious to hear about my overall thoughts about this upcoming strategy game and also some of my history with this franchise, I have a video on that, link in the description. But here today I have been tasked to try out one of their modes, which I've already mentioned to be the Arena Mode, and only talk about that. Also, keep in mind that everything you see might change for the release. This game is still in development, which is also why some art is incomplete. I might have been chosen to be somewhat of a VIP now, but only for this WIP. Nailed it! But that doesn't mean that this mode is completely original. In our beloved franchise, Heroes, we've had this, at least something similar to this before in Heroes 5 called Duel Mode. But when I was younger and I played that game, I didn't particularly enjoy Duel Mode, and I always thought it was because it didn't have the regular gameplay loop of the classic Heroes of Might and Magic stuff, you know, go around the big map, collecting stuff, building an army, you know, make your cities and castles and everything way better. I always thought it was because of that, but after having played this build, this mode, I can say that I was wrong, as in Heroes 5 everything was presets. You chose a hero and that gave you a very specific army, a very specific, you know, artifact choices, all decided by the developers. But here, in Olden Era, the developers have done something completely different. When you select this gameplay option, you are immediately greeted with a choice. What hero do you want to use? Now, you can go with your basic instincts and go for the smexy one. Oh my god, let's play some cards! Or you can put some more thought into it. After all, every hero has a specialization, and some specializes in combat in some capacity, like Typhona here, who strengthens her Hydra units and weakens the enemies. But as we will go through later in Arena Mode, this can't be a surefire choice, so in all honesty, the most important thing to take into consideration would be the hero's stats. Offense, which boosts your army's attack power. Defense, making your people survive longer. Spell power, which makes your magical capabilities more powerful. And finally, intelligence, making it so that you can use more magic. The stats will increase with each level, heavily dependent on whether they are a hero of might or magic. The choice of hero is random. Every time you jump into a quick arena mode fight, you will get a different choice. I adore this. I even mentioned in my reaction vid that I was worried that they would remove all types of RNG, and I can say that here it is in full effect, which I am grateful for. After having chosen your representative, you will be able to level your character up to 10, and each level gives you a skill and a sub-skill. I'm sorry, I don't know the right terms for these things, and there's a chance that they will change the terms, so for release. And the fact that to know what synergizes well with what is good, what is bad, what works, what doesn't work, what will work really well if you combine them, etc. All of these things. To really stress test the system and gameplay mechanics, you really have to think outside of the box and have a really good understanding of what's given to you. And I am not really that kind of player, I'm not really that kind of person, I'm more of a story guy, but what I can say is that the stuff that was given to me and that I played around with for a couple of hours, I enjoyed. The game will also try to push you into a certain direction regarding skill choice. I can't give too much information about this as I couldn't fully utilize this mechanic, but I think having a set goal for your hero is something to be happy about. You don't have to follow their direction, but suddenly being able to either do 200 plus more damage with your hero each round or boosting your allies to a significant degree is worth looking into. The specific skill themselves seem to be separated into might, making your units do more damage, giving them skills to strengthen up if they use the wait command or making them receive less damage, and magic, making your hero better with certain schools, boosting the power of spells, making it so that you can throw 2 casts each turn rather than 1, or giving you special magical abilities, like being able to summon a really powerful avatar unit. This is also where you will be able to get a bit more luck and morale. Luck will give you way more damage, if you're lucky enough, whereas morale will give you 1 extra turn, again based a bit on RNG. The reason for why you didn't see these skills before is because they don't increase by leveling up, unless your hero, of course, specializes in any of the two. After selecting your skills, there's another segment called artifacts, and artifacts are we in Norway would call arti. Artifacts? Okay, I did not nail that one. Damn it! Time to choose 8 relics that will power you up in some way. Like most of the choices in this mode, you will be given 3 randomly. Meaning that you might see something good, but wonder aloud if you might get something better afterwards. And it sucks if you select a weapon, only to get something later that is stronger. Meaning that you have a relic short to what you could have worn if you selected, you know, correctly, if you will, prior. Artifacts in Heroes games have been everywhere between ridiculously powerless to the borderline broken power of the gods. Will admit though, I did not come across anything like that here. So I'm certain that, while randomized, there is still some control by the developers to make sure that the fight won't be completely one-sided, based purely on what underwear the hero wears. Yet, that does not mean that the choices here are lame. Some items just purely give you a stat increase, some through a direct number, other a percentage. Some will have special properties, like attacking an enemy with a hero will make the enemy incapable of using their abilities for a round. Some will increase initiative for your units, a tome that will give you the opportunity to use all spells in a school or magic tier, and something that will sacrifice some of your stats, but boost another fantastically. A lot of choices here, and I love it! Underneath some of these, you can also see that they're part of a set, meaning artifact combinations are back and I can't wait to break the game! Though it is truly through artifacts where you make or break a build. Now, it's going to be a bit difficult to explain this because I am not that good with words, me speak English bad, but I feel like this is where I came across my biggest issue with this gameplay mode, and that's the fact that since you don't know anything about your opponent's choice throughout all of this, it feels as if you'll be punished if you try to make a very focused build. Like, imagine if you're gonna make a full-on anti-magic build. You're gonna be completely, like, negating all spells, you're gonna be so tanky against them, and then you get into the fight and you realize, oh, I'm fighting a might boy. It feels as if you spent all that time prepping only to kind of failing immediately as the battle starts. So I think I would have preferred knowing at least if your opponent chose a might or a magic hero, but again, I don't know if this is a problem or not, because again, as I said earlier, I'm not that kind of player who really sink my teeth into true mechanical depth and system mechanics like that, but I personally did feel that some of that magic, when that happened to me, even against the AI, that magic just kind of faded immediately. So yeah, I don't know if that's a big issue or not, but it's something to consider at least. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I mentioned magic, and the next selection will be spells! You have to choose 6 of them. You will have way more than that in your spell book when you go into the game, depending on your stats and stuff, I think. Okay, I can't go that much into detail here, as I just don't know that much about the mechanics and the new spell system yet. The new schools, etc., I just don't want to give the wrong information. The spells in the homm series have always been deliciously overpowered in some good way, being the reason for why I prefer to play a hero on the magic side of things. Spells here can do all from damage enemies, buff and debuff, area control, etc. Depending on your stats, I think, some spells will change properties, affecting many instead of one, do more damage, last longer, etc. etc, etc, etc. That's really all I can say about that. I do apologize, but whenever the game comes out, or if I get to make a video like this again with an early build, I will try to understand the mechanics way better and really give you the full layout of it. But for me personally, the thing that made me really happy is that the Armageddon spell is back! Next on our prep phase, we have unit selection. Since everything is random, you can use units from every faction. Of course, this will come with the penalty of in morale, which is understandable. I doubt Galahad the Brave is so happy to work with Jones the Bones, so that is something to take into consideration. You will have 7 units, and one thing I'm super happy about is that they all feel unique in some way. Already they have shown that the units will have a choice in what they will upgrade to, meaning that it's not just the same, but with better stats. Not only do many of them have passive abilities, but some even have active ones, which can range from a lich that can turn back time and bring back the dead, a griffin giving a mighty buff to itself, or the spell-slinging woman who can buff others. The Medusa can shower an area with arrows or use her stone gaze. The Minotaur can attack with a shockwave that goes through several hexes, etc. A lot of choices here, and it all fits with the decisions you made earlier. It's as simple as that. No point in going into every unit, as this video is about the arena mode itself and not about the full game. Once you have your army, you will get one last buff of your selection, and then you are ready to rumble. So that's the planning phase. I will overall say that I really enjoyed it. The only thing that took me by genuine surprise at first was the timer, as I thought at first that 5 minutes was more than enough time, but in my first match I kinda didn't. So the game just quickly decided all my decisions for me and it threw me out there. But overall, now that I understand things a bit better, 5 minutes is great. And I think it's only there for the AI anyways, the 5-minute timer. As mentioned, my only real gripe and current negative with this gameplay mode is that you know nothing about your opponent. Again, I don't know if this is a big issue or not. Yeah, I just don't know enough about the systems and it requires far more stress testing to really know. But again, with the fact of not knowing anything, it feels like it's punishing you for trying to make a hyper-focused build and that you are more sort of incentivized to make a jack-of-all-trades build. But as we all know, a jack-of-all-trades is a master of none. Even oftentimes, it's better than a master of one. Again, this is an early preview of this gameplay mode. So yeah, overall, I like everything. It's just that one thing, but we'll see if it's an issue or not. But anyway, so we've been rambling too much about that. Let's check out the battle screen. Before the battle fully begins, you have a tactics phase, where you can change formation if you like. Also, if your hero specializes or you have a chosen skill, they are given far more room to control the beginning of the game. When you start, you will be given a lot of neat info. The main stats of your enemy, the turn counter showing those next to make an action, you have your spellbook, hero abilities, and to the left there, the unit abilities, and this completely new gauge we've never had in any previous installment. When your boys and gals take or deal damage, this yellow slide of wonder will fill up, and eventually hit certain points that will give you ability points that you can cash out to use unit special abilities. Some require 1 crystal, 2 crystals, and some requires even all 3 of them. Gotta say, I really like this. Before, units that held certain moves could just chuck them out whenever they felt like it. Here you have to think a bit more, so Unfrozen, neat idea! And I think I like the execution of it, but I can't be certain yet. Too early. I quickly need to jump in here and quickly say that I can't really discuss the strengths and weaknesses of the AI, as in this build, they were not allowed to use unit abilities or magic, which is a massive part of Heroes of Might and Magic battles, right? So I can't really go into anything like that, but one thing I will say, which is something that should be expected, but at the same time I will mention it because, you know, positive is positive, thumbs up to that, is that the units in this game that has special properties in regards to the regular attack, they actually utilize that when I played. For example, the Hydra, which has like a cone-like attack, actually went into the way I had formatted my units and actually destroyed all of them. Again, something that, you know, it should be expected, but at the same time it's there, so that's a good sign at least. Which is also a sign that I'm a dumbass having my units formatted like that with those enemies, but what else is new? Again, I'm a dumbass. Finally, some stuff I noticed that hopefully will be fixed for the later builds and release. While in some biomes, specifically the snowy battlefield, it was a tad bit strenuous on the eyes and seeing the green highlights when it was my turn. There were times my unit counter was hidden behind other units, which sure I can quickly look at the order queue, but looking for a specific one can take a moment, where you obviously want to know something immediately. Sure, this is a nitpick, but UI is so important to a game like this, and if it is giving you information poorly, there are times where you might make some mistakes. That's not on the player, but the game itself. But again, at this point I'm talking about things that has nothing to do with this gameplay mode, and when it all comes down to that, I will say that they sold this idea to me. I believe that when a game wants to have several gameplay modes, it has to follow these 3 things. It has to be fun, makes sense, pretty basic. 2, it has to be player-driven. It has to have the interactivity you expect from a video game. And 3, it needs to add longevity to the full experience that is the game. Heroes 5 did not do this for me, as everything was so preset, was so controlled by the developers that I couldn't really put myself into it. Now sure, apparently, you could go into the editor and make your own build, but I mean, that's another executable, and I'm too bored and lazy to do that. I'm a player, not a maker. So that's something to really think of, what I think of when it comes to that. And in that regard, Unfrozen did kind of nail it. They sold me on this idea. I enjoyed an arena/duel mode, which I genuinely would never have expected, considering that this is Heroes of Might and Magic, where I love the main gameplay loop. Again, my biggest issue, as I've said over and over and over now, is the fact that since you are so separated from your opponent's decisions, you kinda are in the unluck zone in regards to the decision you make. But I mean, again, I don't even know if that's a negative yet. That's something that needs to be explored a bit more and played a bit more to really know that. But aside from that point, bravo Unfrozen. Everything I got in front of me, I enjoyed. What I got on my plate, I liked the taste. So yeah, I had other things that I would have liked to talk a bit about, but since this video is about this gameplay mode and nothing else, I will refrain from doing so. Maybe I will go into that in like the full review when the game comes out, or if I get to make another sort of video like this with an early build or that kind of shenanigans. But until then, I'm KingJGrim, or the guy who likes to stare at Skelly girls too much, whatever you prefer, and I'll see you guys next time. You will also be able to get more morale and luck here as well. Morale...